The day had the sharp, clean light of a blade. It cut the Red Keep's yard into hard angles of stone and shadow, and it made every face in the watching crowd look more severe than it truly was. Tyrion Lannister felt it on his cheeks and on the raw places where chains had rubbed him, and he wondered, not for the first time in the black cells, whether sunlight could burn a man just as surely as fire. He stood beneath the platform where his father had chosen to sit, and the distance between them was no more than a dozen paces. Yet it might have been a desert. Tywin Lannister was not a man who had ever crossed an empty space without making it a border. He had turned even a courtyard into a map. The high place for power, the low place for judgment, the gap between them for warning. Cersei sat to Tywin's right, draped in gold and emerald. Her mouth set in a line so tight it seemed it might split her face if she spoke. She kept her eyes on Tyrion as if staring could choke him. Jaime stood just behind, white cloak spilling from his shoulders, the hilt of his sword resting against his hip like an old oath. He did not look at Tyrion. Tyrion did not know which hurt more, the refusal or the effort it must take. Across the yard, the champion of the crown waited with the patience of a mountain. Ser Gregor Clegane had been fitted with fresh plate, polished and newly riveted, as if bright metal could make him less monstrous. The helm's visor was down, but Tyrion could still feel the man's gaze through the slit, a steady malice as dull and inevitable as weather. The court had gathered in layers, lords and ladies behind them, and behind those, sworn swords and guards and men who had no right to be there but had come anyway, drawn by the scent of spectacle. Somewhere among the murmurs, coins had changed hands. Somewhere else, prayers had been whispered. Tyrion heard the sound of a city holding its breath. Then the gates opened, and Prince Oberyn Martell entered like a rumor made flesh. He walked without hurry, his scarlet cloak shifting over his shoulders, his spear angled low as if it were a walking stick and not a promise. The Dornishmen behind him were fewer than the Lannister guards and Tyrell retainers, but they carried themselves as if numbers were only another form of politeness. Oberyn's eyes moved over the yard with quick intelligence, taking in distances, faces, exits. When his gaze found Tyrion, it did not slide away. Tyrion had expected charm. He had expected swagger. He had expected the famous smile that had turned heads in half the brothels of King's Landing. What he had not expected was that Oberyn's expression, for an instant, was almost gentle. Oberyn came to stand beside him, close enough that Tyrion could smell spice on his breath and the faint leather scent of travel. The prince did not look up at Tywin yet. He looked at Tyrion instead, and Tyrion felt absurdly as if he were the one being measured for a blade. "You look like a man who has been starved and then offered a feast," Oberyn said softly. Tyrion managed a crooked smile. "That is the story of my life, though usually the feast involves a girl and a jug of wine." Oberyn's mouth twitched. "There are feasts that cost more than coin." Before Tyrion could ask what he meant, the Septon who had been summoned to bless the combat stepped forward, voice trembling as he recited old words about justice and the gods. Tyrion barely heard. The yard had narrowed to three things: the mountain's bulk, his father's stillness, and the spear in Oberyn's hand that looked too slender to matter. When the Septon finished, Tywin's voice carried across the yard without strain. "Proceed." Oberyn's head tilted, as if he were listening for something beyond the command. Then he lifted his spear and spoke, louder, so the yard could hear. "I will be your champion." A ripple ran through the crowd. Tyrion heard a hiss of breath near the platform. Cersei's, sharp with disbelief and rage. Tywin's face did not change. He had known, Tyrion realized, or if he had not known, he had expected. Tywin Lannister did not allow surprises to exist without first deciding what they would cost him. Oberyn turned his head just enough for Tyrion alone. "If I win," he said, still smiling as if the words were a jest, "you will tell me the truth, all of it. Names, promises, orders, who spoke them and who obeyed." Tyrion's throat went dry. He understood then that this was not only about him. It was about a dead woman and dead children, about a city that had cheered while a house burned. "And if you lose?" Tyrion whispered. Oberyn's eyes, dark and bright at once, never left his. "Then I will not care what you tell me." Tyrion swallowed. He looked up at the platform, at his father's impassive face, and he knew with sudden clarity that Tywin intended him to die, whether by combat or by time. The Night's Watch was only another way of burying him. This was the only moment in which a man could seize his own life by the throat. "If you win," Tyrion said, "I will tell you everything I know." Oberyn's smile widened, not with pleasure, but with something like satisfaction. "Good." Across the yard, Ser Gregor shifted, metal grinding on metal. The sound was like a grave being opened. They began with the old dance. The big man trying to make the small man stop moving, the small man trying not to be caught. The mountain advanced as if he could push the air out of his way. Oberyn gave ground with easy grace, the spears but tapping stone. His feet sliding through patches of shadow as if the sun were something he could choose to step out of. The first swing of Gregor's sword was not a strike so much as a verdict. It came down and across in a brutal arc meant to split Oberyn from shoulder to hip. Oberyn slipped back, the blade passing so close Tyrion thought he saw the air ripple. The sword bit stone and sparked. The crowd gasped, a single animal sound. Oberyn did not answer with haste. He let the mountain pull the sword free, let the great man recover his balance. He watched the way Gregor's weight settled, the way his right knee favored a fraction, the way the plate at the inside of his elbow did not quite meet when the arm extended. Tyrion had seen men fight. He had never seen a man study death as if it were a puzzle he meant to solve. Gregor roared behind his visor and charged. His boots hammered stone. His sword came up for another swing, and this time Oberyn met it. Not with his body, but with the spear, the shaft turning, the point flashing. Steel shrieked as the spear's tip scraped along the sword's edge, deflecting it just enough that it missed. Oberyn's spear darted in, quick as a snake, kissed the mountain's thigh, just above the knee, where plate overlapped. The tip found the narrow seam and slid in. Blood darkened metal. Gregor bellowed and swung again, wild now. Oberyn moved like water, always just beyond the blade's reach, always leaving the mountain a little more wounded than before. Another jab. This time the inside of the arm. Another low into the calf. Each strike was small, precise. Each made the mountain slower. Tyrion's heart hammered against his ribs. He could feel the yard turning, the crowd's fear and fascination shifting from certainty to something else. Men had come to see Tyrion die. Now they were watching a prince from Dorne dismantle the crown's monster piece by piece. On the platform, Tywin's hands were clasped, his posture unchanged, but Tyrion saw his father's jaw tighten. Tywin knew what the court knew now. This was not going the way it was meant to. Cersei's expression flickered. For a heartbeat she looked uncertain, as if she could not decide whether to be angry or afraid. Then her lips curled. She leaned forward like a woman about to savor a meal. Gregor's sword swung again, faster, desperate. Oberyn stepped inside it, so close that the great blade passed behind him. The spears but slammed into Gregor's wounded knee. The mountain's leg buckled. Metal clanged. Gregor staggered and dropped to one knee. The yard erupted in screams and shouts. Oberyn did not rush in. He did not leap upon the fallen man the way a glory-hungry champion might. He circled, spear point aimed at the mount. Ein's visor slit, his face calm. "Say her name," Oberyn called, voice carrying. "Say Elia." Gregor's helm turned slightly. The sound that came out was a growl, a wordless hate. Oberyn's spear flicked and struck the mountain's gauntlet, pinning it to the stone for an instant. Gregor yanked free, but the movement cost him. His balance was worse now, his breath louder through the helm. Oberyn lifted the spear again, point steady as judgment. He did not look at Tyrion anymore. He looked at the mountain as if he were looking through him into the past. "Say her name," Oberyn said again, softer, and somehow more terrible. Gregor surged up, roaring, sword rising for a final killing blow. Oberyn stepped aside and drove the spear into the gap beneath the mountain's arm, deep. Gregor's sword fell wide and clattered. The giant stumbled, turned, and fell to his hands. For a moment there was only the sound of Gregor's ragged breathing and the faint hiss of blood on hot stone. Oberyn moved behind him, spear at the back of the mountain's neck where plate met leather. A single thrust there could end it. The yard seemed to lean in. Tyrion's fingers clenched around his chains until the iron bit his skin. He remembered the stories. How Oberyn had killed a man in the fighting pits with a smile. How he had loved women and men and poison. How he had lived like a flame. He prayed. He did not know to whom. That flame would not consume itself. Oberyn's voice carried again, clear as a bell. Who gave the order? Gregor's body shook. A sound came from behind the visor, wet and thick. It was not a roar now. It was a struggle. Then, like a stone dragged from a throat, words came. I killed her, Gregor rasped. I killed her children. The crowd screamed. The court recoiled. Cersei's eyes went wide. Oberyn's spear pressed harder. Who? Gregor coughed, and blood sprayed the inside of the visor slit. Lannister, he choked. The old lion. A silence fell so sudden it felt like the world had stopped breathing. Tywin Lannister did not move, but the air around him changed. Tyrion saw it in the way lords shifted, in the way Tyrell eyes darted, in the way even the gold cloaks tightened their grips on spears. A confession was a thing with teeth, could bite anyone. Oberyn's face did not show triumph. It showed a grim completion, as if a long-sung note had finally reached its end. He did not linger. He did not revel. He drew the spear back and, with a single precise thrust, drove it through the base of Gregor's skull where the neck was weakest. The mountain's body jerked once, then sagged like a toppled statue. Gregor Clegane died without getting to scream again. Chaos did not come all at once. It came in ripples, like the first tremors of an earthquake. First the crowd noise, shouts, screams, prayers. Then movement, as nobles stepped back from one another as if any touch might be dangerous. Then the more subtle thing. Lords and ladies looking at Tywin Lannister with a new calculation, weighing the old lion's power against the sudden stench of accusation. The Septon who had blessed the combat dropped to his knees, whispering to the Seven. A gold cloak made the sign of the mother and looked away from the corpse. Somewhere in the crowd a woman sobbed and was hushed by the man beside her. Oberyn turned from the body, and for the first time he looked up at the platform. His spear was still dripping. His face was composed, but his eyes were sharp enough to cut stone. Justice, he said, and the single word carried across the yard. It was not a plea, it was a claim. Tywin Lannister's gaze met his. Two predators measuring one another across a new kind of battlefield. Tyrion felt, absurdly, like a child watching storms gather over a sea. The combat is done, Tywin said at last, voice steady. The gods have spoken. The gods spoke, Oberyn replied. And so did your dog. A murmur rose again. Cersei's chair scraped as she stood, her face twisted. Lies, she shouted, the word cracking with fury. A monster's dying words are still words. Oberyn cut in, and his tone was so calm it made Cersei's rage look childish. He said what he did. He said who commanded. The court heard. The city will hear. Jaime's head turned slightly, as if he were trying to see his father from a different angle. Tyrion saw the strain in his brother's face, a tightening around the eyes. Jaime had lived long enough beside Tywin to know what it meant when the world suddenly began to question him. Tyrion's own mouth was dry. He tasted iron, though he had not been struck. The confession still rang in his ears. The old lion. Tyrion had known, in the way a child knows a monster under the bed, that Tywin had been responsible. But knowing and hearing were different things. Hearing made it real. Hearing made it dangerous. A herald stepped forward, voice shaking. The accused is found not guilty. For a heartbeat Tyrion could not move. His chains still weighed on him. His body was so used to expecting pain that the idea of freedom felt like a trick. Then Oberyn stepped closer, and Tyrion felt the heat of the prince's presence like sun on skin that had been kept in darkness. Oberyn's hand rose, palm open, not to touch Tyrion but to gesture at the iron. "Remove them," Oberyn said to the guards. The gold cloaks hesitated, eyes darting to the platform. Tywin's gaze flicked, cold. Cersei's lips parted, her anger sharp enough to draw blood. Tywin lifted one hand, a small motion. Permission, not grace. Tyrion realized control. Tywin would not fight this here, not in front of a court already turning restless. He would not look like a man. Scrambling, a guard stepped forward and fumbled with the locks. The chain fell from Tyrion's wrists with a clatter that sounded like a door opening. Tyrion's hands were numb. When he flexed his fingers, they trembled. He expected, in that moment, to feel relief. Instead, he felt terror. Tywin Lannister did not forget, and he did not forgive. Tyrion's acquittal was a humiliation, and Tywin had 1,000 ways to turn humiliation into punishment. Oberyn's voice dropped, meant only for Tyrion. "Do not look at them like a freed man," he murmured. "Look like a man still in danger. They will understand that more easily." Tyrion swallowed and forced his expression into something harder, more controlled. He lifted his chin and met Cersei's gaze. Her eyes were bright, frantic with hate. She looked as though she might leap down from the platform herself and claw his face. "Brother," she said, and the word was poison. Tyrion smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Sister." Tywin stood then, slow, deliberate. The courtyard quieted in reflex, like animals going still before a lion. Tywin's gaze swept over the crowd, over the corpse, over Oberyn, over Tyrion. "This matter is concluded," Tywin said. "The court will withdraw." Oberyn did not bow. He did not move aside. "It is not concluded," he said. "Not for Dorne." Tywin's eyes narrowed by a fraction. "You have your vengeance. The mountain is dead." Oberyn's mouth curved. "A hand is dead. The head remains." A dangerous hush fell again. Even the birds seemed to stop. Tywin's face remained carved in calm, but Tyrion saw the tension in his father's neck. "Be careful, Prince Oberyn." Oberyn inclined his head, a mockery of courtesy. "Always." The court began to move, guards forming a wall of steel around Tywin and Cersei. Jaime lingered a moment, his eyes finally meeting Tyrion's. There was something in them, pain, warning, apology. Tyrion could not tell. Then Jaime followed the others, the white cloak flowing like a ghost retreating. Tyrion stood in the yard with his wrists free and his life still balanced on the edge of a blade. Oberyn's hand touched his shoulder, firm. "Come," Oberyn said. "You owe me truth, and you owe yourself caution." As they walked away from the blood-stained stones, Tyrion realized the battle had been won. The war had just begun. Inside the keep, the stones swallowed noise the way water swallowed light. The echoes of the courtyard faded behind thick doors, but Tyrion could still feel the crowd's hunger clinging to him like sweat. He walked with Oberyn as if the prince's presence were armor. It was not. It was simply a different kind of danger. "Do you know what your father will do next?" Oberyn asked quietly, his boots soft on the flagstones. Tyrion let out a breath that almost became a laugh. "He will smile at me in public and bury me in private." Oberyn's eyes flicked to him. "You think he will let you leave the city?" Tyrion's mouth tightened. "He will let me leave in a box." They turned a corner, and there, as if summoned by the thought, Varys appeared. The eunuch's silk robes whispered. His hands folded as if he were a man at prayer, though his smile belonged to a spider that had found a fly. "My prince," Varys said warmly. "My Lord Tyrion, what an astonishing day. The gods are so entertaining." Oberyn regarded him with open amusement. "Are you here to congratulate us, Lord Varys? Or to warn us?" Varys's eyes widened, innocent as a child's. "Must it be one or the other? I have always enjoyed doing both." Tyrion studied him. Varys had visited him in the Black Cells, delivering half-truths and soft sympathy. Tyrion had never trusted him, And yet there was a kind of reliability in Varys's treachery. The spider served the realm, whatever that meant. "You heard the confession," Tyrion said. Varys's smile did not falter, but something behind it sharpened. "I heard words spoken by a dying man. Words that will fly through the city faster than ravens." Oberyn's voice was mild. "Good." Varys's hands opened slightly, a gesture of helplessness. "Rumor is a wildfire, my prince. It burns indiscriminately, and there are those who would be delighted to watch King's Landing burn. There are those," Oberyn said, "who deserve to feel heat." Varys looked from Oberyn to Tyrion, and the softness in his face deepened into something almost sad. "My lord Tyrion, you are free. That is a rare gift in this city. I would advise you not to squander it." "And how, precisely, does one avoid squandering freedom in a city ruled by my sister?" Tyrion asked. Varys leaned in a fraction, voice dropping. "By leaving it." Oberyn's gaze held Varys. "If we leave," he said, "the lion will bite at our heels." Varys's smile returned, gentle. "Lions bite. It is what they do. But even lions cannot bite what they cannot catch." Tyrion felt a chill. Varys was offering help. That meant Varys had already decided which way the wind would blow, and he meant to place his sails accordingly. As if to underscore the point, Bronn stepped out of a doorway farther down the corridor, leaning against the stone with casual ease. His hand rested on the hilt of a dagger as if it were a lover. His eyes flicked to Tyrion, then to Oberyn, then away again. "Didn't think I'd see you walking free," Bronn said. "No. Tea in this place." Tyrion managed a thin smile. "Neither did I." Bronn's gaze slid to Oberyn's spear, which the prince carried as calmly as if it were a cane. "Your friend there," Bronn said. "He's got half the court shitting itself." Oberyn smiled. "Only half? How disappointing." Bronn snorted, amused despite himself. "If you're thinking of leaving, I'd do it soon. The Queen's got that look. The one where she starts making plans with knives." Tyrion's stomach tightened. "My sister always makes plans with knives." Varys clasped his hands again. "I would not wish to interrupt old friendships," he said, "but I must in the spirit of concern." His eyes met Tyrion's. "Lord Tywin will not challenge the outcome of the combat. He cannot. It would make him look weak. But he will find other ways. He will offer you mercy." Tyrion's laugh was bitter. "Mercy? A ship?" Varys continued softly. "A quiet departure. A new life in service. Perhaps the wall, perhaps the faith, perhaps exile with no guards but no friends either. Do not take it." Oberyn's voice was calm. "And if we do not take it?" Varys's smile thinned. "Then you must be ready to take something else." Tyrion understood then. This was not merely a matter of escaping punishment. It was a matter of choosing the shape of the next knife. Oberyn's hand brushed Tyrion's shoulder again. "Steady. We will talk," he said. "Soon. Alone. There are truths I will have, and there are decisions you must make." Tyrion nodded, throat tight. As they continued down the corridor, Tyrion felt the red keep closing around him. Its walls were not merely stone. They were history. They were blood. And now, with Gregor dead and a confession spoken aloud, those walls were listening. The chamber Oberyn chose was not grand. It was the sort of room the Red Keep kept for guests who were too important to insult and too dangerous to trust. The bed was narrow, the tapestries faded, the air scented with old smoke. A brazier burned low, making the candle flames shiver. Ellaria Sands stood by the window, her dark hair loose, her hands clasped tightly as if she were holding herself together. She looked at Tyrion with eyes that held no pity, only assessment. Tyrion had always thought pity was worse than hatred. Assessment, at least, could be turned. Oberyn shut the door himself and leaned his spear against the wall. Then he sat, elbows on his knees, and looked at Tyrion as if the man before him were not a Lannister but a ledger. "You promised me truth," Oberyn said. Tyrion's mouth felt dry. "I did." "Then begin." Tyrion exhaled and stared at his own hands. at the red marks around his wrists. Chains left their signatures the way kings left theirs, deep and meant to last. "I was a boy," he said slowly. "When it happened, I knew nothing of war except what my father taught me, that it was a way to make other people obey. I was not in King's Landing when Oberyn Martell died." Oberyn's eyes did not blink. "But you know who was?" Tyrion nodded. "Ser Gregor, Ser Amei Lorch. Men my father used. Men he made useful by letting them be monsters." Ellaria's lips pressed together. Oberyn's jaw tightened. He let Tyrion speak, but the room felt like it was tightening with him, the air narrowing. "My father never speaks of that night," Tyrion went on. "He speaks of victory, of taking the city, of ending a dynasty. He speaks of what must be done." Tyrion swallowed. "But he never speaks of Elia, never says her name, as if names make things real." Oberyn's voice was quiet. "Who gave the order, Tyrion?" Tyrion looked up. "My father did not tell me, but I have watched him all my life. He is not a man who lets his dogs off the leash without deciding what they will bite. He needed Robert Baratheon to see that the Lannisters were on the winning side. He needed to prove it. Blood is a language my father speaks fluently." Oberyn leaned forward slightly. "That is your belief." "It is my certainty," Tyrion said, surprised to hear how hard his own voice had become. He wanted the Targaryens dead. Elia and her children were proof that he had finished the job. Proof that he was indispensable. Ellaria's eyes closed for a heartbeat, like a woman struck. Oberyn's hands clenched, then relaxed. "And what of Jaime Lannister?" he asked, voice still controlled. "What of the Kingslayer who wore white and watched the city fall?" Tyrion hesitated, then spoke. "Jaime killed Aerys. He saved the city from wildfire. He did not save Elia. He was not there. He was in the throne room." Oberyn's gaze sharpened. "And your sister?" Tyrion's laugh was bitter. "My sister was a girl then and already cruel, but she did not command men like Gregor. She did not and do anything. Not yet." Oberyn sat back, and the candles threw shadows across his face that made him look older. For an instant Tyrion saw not the famous prince, not the lover and fighter, but a man who had carried a dead woman in his mind for years like a stone. "You understand," Oberyn said softly, "that the confession changes everything." Tyrion nodded. "It gives you a knife. It gives Dorne a knife," Oberyn corrected. "A knife that can be shown to the realm. The Lannisters have hidden behind victory for too long. Now there is blood on their hands that even gold cannot wash away." Ellaria stepped closer, her voice tight. "And what will you do with it, Oberyn?" Oberyn's gaze flicked to her, and for a moment there was tenderness there, a warmth that did not soften his resolve. "What I have always meant to do," he said. "Make them pay." Tyrion felt his stomach twist. "If you strike at Tywin openly," he said, "he will strike back. He will strike at Dorne, at your brother, at your people." Oberyn smiled without humor. "He will try." Tyrion held his gaze. "And in the meantime," he said carefully, "he will strike at me." Oberyn's eyes narrowed. "Yes." Tyrion drew a breath, forcing himself to say what the chains had taught him to understand. "I am free because the gods or luck gave you victory, but my freedom exists only as long as my father allows it to. In this city, I am still a dead man walking." Oberyn's smile returned, sharp. "Then you must stop walking like a dead man." Ellaria's eyes widened slightly, as if she saw where this was going and disliked it. Oberyn rose and moved toward Tyrion, and in that motion there was no threat. There was simply certainty. "I did not come to King's Landing to win a duel and then leave politely," he said. "I came for justice. I came for truth. And now I have both, at least enough to begin." Tyrion's voice was low. "And I am your beginning." Oberyn's eyes gleamed. "You are the key that opens doors my spear cannot," he said. "But you must decide, Tyrion Lannister, whether you will be used by your father until you die, or whether you will be used by me until you live." The words hung between them like smoke. Outside, King's Landing roared, distant and hungry. The city did not yet know it was standing on a fault line. It only knew it had been promised blood and had tasted a little. Tyrion looked at Oberyn, and for the first time since his arrest he felt something like choice. "Tell me what you want," Tyrion said. Oberyn's eyes gleamed. "I want you out of this keep," he said. "Tonight, before your father offers you mercy, before your sister finds a way to poison your cup, before the lions decide to eat you in a quieter room." Ellaria's voice was a whisper. "Oberyn." Oberyn did not look away from Tyrion. "And then," he said, "I want you to help me make war." In another chamber, higher in the keep where the windows looked out over the city like eyes, Cersei Lannister raged as if fury could reshape the world. The room glittered with gold and carved lions, but the light seemed to cling to her skin in harsh patches. Her hair had come loose, curls falling like chains around her shoulders. "They heard him," she hissed, pacing. "They heard that beast say it, the old lion. He said it for all the yard to hear, for all the city to whisper." Tywin sat, hands resting on the arms of his chair. He looked like he belonged there more than the furniture did. "A dying man's confession is not proof," he said evenly. "It is poison," Cersei snapped. "Poison in their minds, in their mouths. They will repeat it because it is delicious." Jaime stood near the hearth, his face drawn. He had taken off his helm, and the torchlight showed the exhaustion around his eyes. He looked at his father, and Tyrion's absence haunted him like a ghost. "You knew," Jaime said quietly, and there was something dangerous in the softness. "You knew Gregor might say it." Tywin's gaze shifted to him, calm as winter. "Gregor said what he wanted to say," Tywin replied. "Gregor was always a blunt instrument. Blunt instruments do not understand politics." Cersei slammed her hand against a table, goblets rattling. "Politics?" she spat. "Politics is what they use to pretend we are not what we are. We are lions, father. We take what we want." Tywin's eyes hardened. "We keep what we take," he corrected. "There is a difference. Your brother's trial was meant to end a problem. It has created another." Cersei's laugh was sharp. "Oberyn Martell is the problem." Qyburn, standing quietly near the wall, inclined his head slightly, as if acknowledging a lesson. He had come to Cersei's side like a shadow that knew how to speak. His presence was unsettling in a way that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with curiosity. "Prince Oberyn has gained considerable favor in the city today," Qyburn said softly. "Among the small folk, if rumors are to be believed. They do enjoy a spectacle that humiliates their betters." Cersei whirled on him. "Do not speak to me of small folk." Qyburn's expression did not change. "As you command." Tywin's voice cut through. "Oberyn cannot stay long," he said, more to himself than to them. "He has made enemies. He has made claims. He believes victory gives him leverage." Cersei leaned forward, eyes bright. "Then we take it from him," she said. "We take him in the night. We take his whore. We take his—" "Enough," Tywin said, and the single word carried weight. Cersei stopped, breath heaving. Her face was flushed, her eyes wet, but her rage did not dim. Tywin's gaze was cold. "If you touch him openly, you invite Dorne to cry treason," he said. "You invite the Tyrells to doubt. You invite the city to riot. The realm is a tapestry held together by threads. You do not cut them all because you are angry, Cersei." Eyes hands clenched. "Then what?" Tywin's eyes narrowed. "We offer your brother mercy," he said. Jaime's head snapped up. "Mercy?" Tywin's gaze held his son's. "Exile," Tywin said. "The wall, perhaps. The Night's Watch is a grave that breathes. It removes him without making him a martyr. It makes it seem as if the crown is generous." Cersei's mouth twisted. "And Oberyn?" Tywin's voice remained even. "We do nothing that gives him an excuse. We smile. We speak politely. And we ensure he leaves empty-handed." Cersei's laugh was low. Empty-handed, she whispered. He killed our champion, father. He made you sit there while that monster spoke your name. Tywin's jaw tightened. He spoke a rumor, he said. Jaime's voice was strained. And Tyrion? Tywin's gaze sharpened. Tyrion is a problem I have tried to solve for years, he said. Today, the gods delayed my solution. Cersei's eyes gleamed. Let me solve it, she whispered. Tywin did not look at her. You will not, he said. You are not subtle. Cersei's face twisted with humiliation. Then what am I? She demanded. Tywin finally looked at her, and the contempt there was quiet and absolute. You are useful when you are controlled. Cersei's breath hitched, rage and pain mixing. For a moment she looked like she might strike him. Then she turned away, trembling. Qyburn watched it all with calm interest, like a man watching an animal reveal its nature. Tywin's gaze returned to the dark window. Find where Tyrion is, he said, to no one in particular. If Oberyn Martell believes he can take my son from my city, he has forgotten what it means to steal from a lion. Outside, the city roared, unaware that its rulers were already sharpening knives in the dark. Night in the Red Keep smelled of horses and smoke and secrets. The stable yard lay half in shadow, the torches throwing uncertain light on sweating flanks and straw-strewn stone. Men moved quietly, not because they were cowards, but because they understood the value of silence. Oberyn stood among his Dornish guards, speaking in low tones. They were lean men with sun-browned skin, armed not with heavy armor but with speed. Their eyes watched the gates, the walls, the corners where a gold cloak might appear. Ellaria came to him, her hand closed around something small. When she opened it, Tyrion saw a tiny vial glinting faintly, the liquid inside dark as old wine. Do not use it unless you must, Ellaria said, her voice tight. Oberyn's fingers closed around the vial and slipped it into his sleeve. I would prefer not to waste good poison, he murmured. Ellaria's expression did not soften. This is not a game. Oberyn's gaze held hers, and in it Tyrion saw something fierce and tender. No, Oberyn said. It is not. Bronn leaned against a post nearby, looking as comfortable as if he were waiting for a girl instead of participating in treason. His eyes flicked over the Dornish guards with cautious respect. This is a bad idea, Bronn said, as if stating the weather. Oberyn smiled. Most good ideas are. Bronn spat into the straw. I don't care what you call it, so long as you pay. Tyrion, hooded in a plain cloak, stood with Podrick Payne beside him. The boy's hands shook slightly as he held Tyrion's cloak's edge, trying to make Tyrion look like a servant or a lesser lord. Podrick's eyes were wide, but there was determination in them too. You don't have to do this, Tyrion whispered to him. Podrick swallowed. Yes, I do, he said, voice barely audible. You were kind to me. Tyrion felt an unexpected tightness in his chest. Kindness was a currency he had spent too rarely, and it seemed the smallest coin was sometimes the one that returned most faithfully. A soft footstep sounded, and for an instant every hand went to a weapon. Then a figure emerged from the shadow of a stall. Varys, wrapped in a plain cloak that made him look almost ordinary. My prince, Varys said quietly, as if they were meeting for wine and not conspiracy. My lord Tyrion. Oberyn's eyes narrowed. You follow like a cat. Varys smiled. I prefer to think of myself as a man who dislikes surprises. Bronn's hand tightened on his dagger. If you've come to stop us, Spider, you'll need more guards. Varys' smile did not falter. I have not come to stop you, he said. I have come because the keep is beginning to stir. The queen is restless. Lord Tywin has asked certain men certain questions. The air is shifting. Tyrion's stomach tightened. How much time? Varys' eyes flicked toward the gate. Less than you would like, he said. Oberyn's voice was calm. Then we go now. Varys inclined his head. There is a postern gate, he murmured. Old, little used. It opens toward the river path. 2 gold cloaks guard it. They can be Persuaded. Bronn's grin returned. Persuaded. That's a lovely word. Oberyn's hand rested briefly on Tyrion's shoulder, and in the touch there was no pity, only certainty. Stay close, he said. Tyrion nodded, heart hammering. They moved as a knot of shadow through the stable yard, slipping between horses and walls, keeping to darkness. The keep around them felt like a sleeping beast, full of teeth even in its rest. At the postern gate, 2 gold cloaks stood with spears, their faces bored. One looked up as the group approached, suspicion narrowing his eyes. Then his gaze landed on Oberyn's spear and the Dornishman's blades, and his boredom vanished. "What's this?" the guard demanded. Bronn stepped forward, moving like a man about to embrace a friend. "Evening," he said cheerfully, and his hand flashed. The first guard's spear clattered as Bronn's dagger found his throat. The second guard opened his mouth to shout, and a Dornishman's hand closed over it as another blade slid in under the ribs. The man's eyes went wide, then dimmed. Tyrion stood frozen for a heartbeat, watching blood soak into the stone. He had seen men die before. He had never been the reason. Oberyn's voice was soft in his ear. "Do not stop," he murmured. "Stopping is how men get caught." They dragged the bodies aside, quick and practiced. Bronn wiped his blade on a guard's cloak as if cleaning a spoon. The gate creaked open, and cold night air rushed in, smelling of river and rot. Beyond lay the city's darkness, its alleys, its docks, its dangers. Freedom did not look like sunlight. It looked like shadow. King's Landing at night was a different creature than it was by day. In sunlight it pretended at civilization. Markets, banners, the smell of bread. In darkness it returned to its truer form. A tangle of alleys and whispers, a body full of hunger. Rain had begun, light at first, then steady. It slicked the stones and made the torchlight smear into trembling gold. Tyrion kept his hood low, his heart pounding with every distant shout. The city's sounds were everywhere. Drunken laughter, a woman's scream, the clatter of a cart, the chant of men gambling somewhere in the dark. Oberyn moved with the ease of a man who did not fear being lost. He seemed to know the city's veins by instinct, turning down passages that narrowed, cutting through courtyards where laundry hung like ghosts. Dornish guards melted into doorways and reappeared ahead, silent as cats. Ellaria stayed close, her knife held low but ready. Tyrion saw the tension in her shoulders, the way she listened to the city as if it were speaking directly to her. At the far end of one alley, lanterns appeared, gold cloaks, 2 of them, walking slow and careless. Their laughter drifted toward the group. Oberyn lifted a hand. Everyone pressed against the wall, shadows among shadows. Tyrion's breath caught. He could hear his own pulse louder than the rain. The gold cloaks passed, lantern light sliding over wet stone. One of them paused, sniffing as if he sensed something. Tyrion's muscles tightened. Ellaria's knife rose a fraction. Then the guard shrugged and kept walking, his boots splashing through a puddle. The lantern glow faded. Tyrion exhaled shakily. Oberyn's voice was a whisper. "Do not let your fear announce you," he murmured. Tyrion managed a bitter, silent laugh. "If my fear announces me, perhaps it will do so in a very small voice." Oberyn's mouth twitched, amused even here. Small voices can be loud in the right ear. They moved again, faster now. Tyrion's mind raced. Somewhere in the Red Keep, Tywin would already be asking questions. Cersei would already be imagining ways to tear him apart. Tyrion did not know what Jaime would do. Jaime's loyalty was a rope fraying from both ends. They reached a set of steps that descended toward the river, where the air smelled of fish and sewage and damp wood. The docks were a forest of masts in the dark, ships rocking gently like beasts asleep. Lanterns hung from posts, their light reflected in black water. A small vessel waited, barely more than a fishing boat, with a low cabin and oars ready. A man stood by it, hooded, face turned away. When Oberyn approached, the man lifted his head slightly, and Tyrion caught a glimpse of a familiar profile. Ser Davos Seaworth would have called such men smugglers, with contempt and admiration in equal measure. Tyrion did not know this one's name, but he knew the type. A man who made his living slipping past laws. Oberyn spoke quietly to him in a language Tyrion did not know, soft, quick words. That sounded like sand on stone. The man nodded. Varys had said there would be a way. Tyrion realized, with a chill, that Varys had prepared this before today. Perhaps before the duel even began. Varys did not wait for outcomes. He made outcomes. Tyrion stepped onto the boat, the wood creaking under his weight. The river's cold breath rose around him. Ellaria followed, then Oberyn. Dornish guards took positions, some staying behind, melting back into the city. As the boat pushed off, the dock slipping away, Tyrion looked back at the city. King's Landing loomed, its lights scattered like embers, its towers jagged against a cloudy sky. The red keep rose above it all, dark and heavy, as if it were a fist clenched around the city's throat. A distant bell began to toll. 1, 2, 3. Tyrion's stomach turned. Bells at night meant alarm. Someone had noticed. Someone had decided the hunt had begun. Oberyn stood at the stern, cloak damp, spear held like a staff. He looked toward the city not with fear, but with something like anticipation. "They will come," Tyrion said softly. Oberyn's eyes gleamed in the lantern light. "Let them," he replied. The river carried them away, black and swift, and behind them King's Landing began to wake like a beast sensing blood. The Blackwater was colder than Tyrion expected. It smelled of salt and filth and old ships, and it moved with a strength that made the small boat feel fragile. The oars dipped and rose in steady rhythm, water hissing. The city's lights trembled on the river's surface like nervous lies. Behind them, shouts echoed faintly. Lanterns bobbed along the docks. Gold cloaks gathering, pointing. The glow of their lights like fireflies in a dark marsh. Tyrion's chest tightened. It was one thing to slip through alleys. It was another to flee on open water, where the river offered no hiding place except speed. "Row," Oberyn said quietly to the boatman, and there was steel beneath the softness. "Now." The boatman's jaw clenched. He leaned into the oars, muscles taut. The boat surged forward, cutting through the current. Tyrion kept his gaze on the red keep's silhouette, looming above the city like a dark crown. Somewhere within it, Tywin sat in his chair, calm and furious, already turning loss into strategy. Tyrion imagined his father's mind like a chessboard, pieces shifting. "You think he will send ships?" Tyrion asked. Oberyn's eyes were on the river behind them. "He will send whatever he believes will work," he said. "He will not waste men if he can waste coin instead." Tyrion's laugh was hollow. "Coin buys men." "Yes," Oberyn replied, "but it does not buy loyalty. That is the difference between your house and mine." Ellaria's gaze stayed on the shore. "Do not romanticize Dorne," she said quietly. "We are not kinder. We are simply different." Oberyn's mouth curved faintly. "We are honest about our knives." The boat passed beneath a stone bridge, the arches dripping water. For a moment they were swallowed by darkness, the sounds of the city muffled. Tyrion felt as if they had slipped into another world. When they emerged, the river opened wider. The city's wall fell away behind them, replaced by the darker line of the shore and the faint shapes of warehouses. The shouts grew fainter, but the bells continued, tolling like a heartbeat. Tyrion's mind raced with the implications. He was a Lannister fleeing with a Martell prince. The court would call it kidnapping. Tywin would call it insult. The Tyrells would call it opportunity. The faith would call it sin. The small folk would call it a story worth repeating. And stories in King's Landing were weapons. Oberyn leaned closer to Tyrion, voice low so only he could hear over the oars and water. "When we reach my ship," he said, "you will be under my protection. You will be my guest, and you will be my witness." Tyrion swallowed. "Witness to what?" Oberyn's eyes glinted. "To the truth of Elia," he said. "To the truth of Tywin Lannister. To the truth, the realm prefers to forget. A confession spoken in a courtyard is one thing. A man of House Lannister speaking it is another. Tyrion felt a cold understanding settle in him. Oberyn did not only want vengeance. He wanted legitimacy. He wanted to make tea. He realm see what Dorne had always known, that the Lannisters' power was not built solely on gold and cunning, but on blood and cruelty. "You will make me a weapon," Tyrion said softly. Oberyn did not deny it. "Yes," he said, "and you will make me a storm." Tyrion's mouth twisted. "I have been used as a weapon before." Oberyn's gaze held his. "Then this time," he said, "choose where the blade points." The boat crested a small swell, and ahead, a larger ship loomed, anchored in the dark. A sleek vessel with Dornish lines, its sails furled, lanterns shaded. Men waited along its rail, shapes against the night. As they drew closer, a horn sounded softly from the larger ship, low and careful, like a breath. A signal. The boat slipped alongside, ropes thrown down. Hands reached to haul them up. Tyrion's fingers gripped wet rope, pulling himself onto the ship's deck. The wood was solid beneath his boots, the ship rocking gently, a different kind of ground. Oberyn followed, standing tall as if he had never fled in his life. On the shore behind them, lanterns flared brighter. A shout carried across the water, faint but furious. Tyrion looked back one last time. The city's lights trembled. The Red Keep rose, dark and patient. He felt, suddenly, as if he were leaving behind not only a place, but a version of himself. A man who had hoped, foolishly, for mercy from lions. Oberyn's hand clapped his shoulder, and Tyrion turned. "Welcome," Oberyn said softly, "to the beginning." Dawn did not come gently. It arrived as a slow bruising of the sky, the black turning to deep blue, then to a pale gray that made the river look like steel. The wind picked up, snapping at cloaks and ropes. The ship's hull groaned as it turned, the city falling behind like a bad memory. Tyrion stood near the rail, hood down now, the salt air biting his face. He watched King's Landing shrink, its walls and towers losing detail until the Red Keep became a dark shape, a clenched fist on the horizon. The bells had stopped in the night, but he could still hear them in his head. Ellaria leaned against a mast, arms folded tight. She watched Oberyn and Tyrion as if weighing the cost of both. Love did not make her blind. It made her sharper. Oberyn stood at the bow, spear in hand, cloak whipping. He looked less like a man fleeing and more like a man sailing to war. The morning light caught the bloodstains that still marked the spear's shaft, dried now, dark and permanent. "You are quiet," Oberyn said, not turning. Tyrion's voice was rough. "I am trying to decide what kind of fool I am." Oberyn glanced back, amused. "There are many kinds. The kind who believed," Tyrion said, "that winning a trial meant anything." Oberyn's smile faded slightly. "In some places it does," he said. "In this place, it means only that you have embarrassed powerful people." Tyrion's hands clenched on the rail. "My father will not forget," he said. "He will call this abduction. He will send ravens. He will demand my return. He will threaten Dorne." Oberyn's eyes gleamed. "Let him write," he said. "Let him threaten. Threats are the language of men who have not yet decided how to strike." Tyrion looked at him. "And you have decided." Oberyn's expression was hard now. The charm stripped away like a cloak dropped to the deck. "Yes," he said simply. "I have waited too long. My brother waits and waits, believing patience is armor. Patience is only time, and time is what the lions use to make men tired." Ellaria's voice cut in low. "Doran is not weak," she said. Oberyn's gaze softened for a heartbeat. "No," he agreed. "He is careful. But careful men sometimes die while measuring the wind." Tyrion swallowed. He thought of Dorne, of heat and sun and red mountains, of a land he had never seen except in stories. He thought of the realm, of the riverlands bleeding, of the north angry, of a boy king with a cruel smile. He thought of how easily everything could tip. "What do you want from me?" Tyrion asked again, because asking made it feel like he still had some control. Oberyn stepped closer, spear angled down, and the wind tugged at his cloak like hands. "I want you to speak," he said. "I want you to tell the realm what you told me. I want you to say, in your own voice, that Tywin Lannister made monsters and pointed them at Ellaria Martell." Tyrion's throat tightened. "That will make me a traitor." Oberyn's smile was thin. "To House Lannister," he said, "not to truth." Ryan stared at the horizon, at the pale line where sky met sea. He felt something inside him shifting, a slow turning. He had spent his life trying to survive in the shadow of his family, making jokes to soften knives, drinking to dull pain. He had thought survival was enough, but survival, he realized, was only the first step. A man could survive and still be owned. He turned back to Oberyn. "If I do this," Tyrion said quietly, "there is no going back." Oberyn's eyes held his. "Good," he said. "Going back is how men end up in chains again." Ellaria watched them, and her expression was not disapproval now, but sorrow. The sorrow of someone who knows what war costs and knows it is coming anyway. Tyrion looked one last time at King's Landing fading into mist and distance. He imagined his father reading a raven, calm as stone. He imagined Cersei's rage, sharp as broken glass. He imagined Jaime, torn. He imagined the court whispering, the city murmuring, the realm shifting. Then Tyrion Lannister, the man who had been condemned and freed in the same breath, let go of the rail and stood straighter, as if his spine had remembered it was his. "Very well," he said. "I will speak." Oberyn's smile returned, not playful, but fierce. "Then," he said, "the lions should begin to pray." The ship cut southward, the wind filling its sails, and the morning light rose behind them like a blade drawn slowly from its sheath. By the second day, the air had changed. The wind still had teeth, but it carried a warmer breath now, scented faintly with salt and something that might have been citrus if Tyrion had wanted to imagine it. The sea rolled beneath them with slow strength, and each time the ship climbed a swell and fell again, Tyrion felt the shape of his old life loosening like a knot that had been pulled too long. He slept little. When he closed his eyes, he saw Ser Gregor Clegane on his knees, heard the wet scrape of confession, felt the courtyard's sudden silence like a hand on his throat. He would wake with his heart pounding, half expecting to hear the Red Keep's bells again, half expecting chains to be snapped back around his wrists as if the gods had grown bored of the joke. Oberyn Martell seemed made of different stuff. He moved among his men with the ease of a prince who knew every deck plank belonged to him, speaking in low tones, laughing once, briefly, at something a sailor said. There was a brightness to him that was not joy, not exactly. More like the fierce clarity of a man who had chosen his road and could now see it stretching ahead. Ellaria Sand watched him as one watches a man walking too close to a cliff. Her eyes never left his face for long. When she did look away, it was only to check shadows, ropes, the horizon, as if danger might rise from the sea like a shark's fin. Tyrion found himself beside Oberyn at the rail as the sun climbed, pale and sharp. The Martell banner snapped above them, the sun and spear bright against sky. Tyrion stared at it until his eyes watered. He had never belonged beneath a banner without being choked by it. "What will your brother do?" Tyrion asked at last. "When he sees me." Oberyn's gaze stayed on the line where sea met sky. "My brother will do what he always does," he said. "He will think." Tyrion let out a small laugh. "Thinking is wise. Thinking is also slow." Oberyn glanced at him, and there was a flicker of humor. "Yes. And you?" Tyrion pressed. "What will you do while he thinks?" Oberyn's smile was thin. "I will remind him that time is not a friend we can always afford." Tyrion's fingers tightened on the rail. The wood was warm now, sun-soaked. "They will call this kidnapping. They will call it whatever serves them," Oberyn said. "Your father will write ravens thick with outrage. Your sister will scream treason until her throat bleeds. They will not admit you left because you chose to. Lions do not like the idea of prey walking away. Tyrion stared at the sea. Tywin will not forgive the insult. Oberyn's voice sharpened slightly. It is not insult, he said. It is consequence. The ship creaked as it shifted, turning a fraction south. Sailors moved with practiced speed, pulling lines, calling in clipped Dornish. Tyrion watched them and felt, oddly, envy. Their loyalties were simple. Ship, captain, home. His loyalties had always been a tangle of chains and love twisted together until neither could be pulled free. A sailor shouted from the foredeck. Heads turned. Ahead, low on the horizon, a dark line rose where there had been only sky, land. Tyrion's chest tightened. He had never been to Dorne. He knew it only through songs and sneers, through courtiers who spoke of heat and poison and women who rode with knives in their hair. He knew it through his father's careful contempt, through Cersei's loathing. A place that had never bowed, a place that remembered. As the coastline sharpened, Tyrion saw pale cliffs and red stone, jagged hills like broken teeth. The light seemed different there, harsher and brighter, as if the sun had learned to be cruel. He smelled dust on the wind, and something sweet that might have been blossoms. Ellaria stepped to Oberyn's side, her hand brushing his arm. Sunspear, she said softly, and the word held both pride and warning. Oberyn's gaze fixed on the land. Home, he replied. Tyrion swallowed. Home. He had never understood what it meant to return to a place that wanted you. He wondered what it would feel like, and whether Oberyn Martell was about to trade one kind of danger for another. Sunspear did not greet them with softness. The harbor smelled of tar and salt and sun-baked wood, and the heat pressed down like a hand. Tyrion felt sweat form almost at once beneath his clothes. The light was fierce, bleaching color from everything except the banners. Martell suns and spears snapping in the wind, red and gold bright enough to sting the eye. The city rose in layers beyond the docks. Sand-colored walls, narrow towers. The Shadow City crouched like a darker twin outside the palace walls. Above all of it, the spear tower pierced the sky, pale stone sharpened by sunlight until it looked like a weapon pointed at the heavens. Men waited on the dock in disciplined stillness. At their center stood Hoda, tall and broad, his long axe held upright like a standard. His face was dark and unreadable, his eyes fixed on Oberyn Martell as if measuring the prince's return. Behind Hoda, shaded beneath a canopy, sat Prince Doran Martell in a covered litter. His posture was careful, composed, but his hands, resting on the litter's edge, looked swollen, the fingers thick with gout. His face was calm in the way of a man who had learned to hide pain behind courtesy. Beside him stood a woman Tyrion recognized at once, though he had never seen her. Oberyn Martell, Doran's daughter, with hair dark as midnight and eyes that held heat like banked coals. She wore orange silk that moved with the wind, and she watched the ship with a sharpness that made Tyrion feel as if he were being counted. Oberyn descended the gangplank first, moving as if the dock belonged to him. Ellaria followed, her expression tight. Tyrion came last, hood lowered, trying to look like anything but a man stolen from a lion's den. The moment his boots hit the dock, the heat seemed to climb into his bones. He straightened anyway, forcing himself not to squint. If he looked small, they would treat him small. Hoda stepped forward, long axe still upright. Prince Oberyn Martell, he said, voice flat as stone. You have returned. Oberyn smiled. I have, he replied, and I have brought a guest. Hoda's gaze flicked to Tyrion, and Tyrion felt the weight of it like the edge of a blade. A guest? Hoda repeated, and there was no warmth in the word. Prince Doran Martell lifted a hand slightly. The gesture was small, but it carried authority. Hoda stepped back half a pace, not retreating, merely yielding space. Oberyn, Doran said, and his voice was soft, almost gentle. You do not make small arrivals. Oberyn's smile did not reach his eyes. Small arrivals are for small men, he replied. Oberyn Martell's gaze stayed on Tyrion. Is it true? she asked. That the mountain died screaming your name in the Red Keep yard? Oberyn's expression sharpened. He died, he said. He confessed. The realm heard. Doran's eyes narrowed slightly, not with anger but with calculation. And you killed him, Doran said. Cleanly. Oberyn's jaw tightened. As cleanly as the world allows, he replied. Doran's gaze drifted to Tyrion. And this is Tyrion Lannister, he said, voice still mild. The imp, the hand, the man they tried and would have killed. Tyrion swallowed, then bowed as well as his aching body allowed. Prince Doran Martell, he said. I would have preferred to meet under different circumstances. Doran's mouth curved faintly. Circumstances rarely consult our preferences. Arianne's eyes did not soften. The lions will roar, she said. They will demand him back. They will, Doran agreed, and the calmness in his voice made Tyrion uneasy. Calmness could be kindness, or it could be the steadiness of a knife held very still. Oberyn stepped closer to the litter. Let them roar, he said. Let them choke on it. Doran's gaze held his brother's for a long moment. Tyrion felt the tension in that look. Love and frustration. Shared blood and different temperaments. Doran Martell had kept Dorne alive with patience. Oberyn Martell had kept it proud with fire. Fire could warm a house or burn it down. At least, Doran said softly, come inside before you set the palace alight with your temper. Oberyn's smile flashed, bright and dangerous. As you command, brother. They moved, guards closing around them with quiet precision. Tyrion walked beneath Martell banners into a palace that smelled faintly of lemons and stone, and he wondered whether he had stepped into shelter or into another kind of cage. The hall Doran chose was cool despite the heat outside. Pale stone columns rose to a ceiling painted with suns and waves, and clay pots held orange trees heavy with green fruit that scented the air with sweetness. Water trickled somewhere unseen, a sound like patience made audible. Prince Doran Martell sat in a chair carved with spears, his litter set aside. Servants had arranged cushions and low benches, the kind of comfort meant to soften conversation. It did not soften the eyes watching. Areo Hoda stood behind Doran, long axe in hand, his gaze steady and unreadable. Oberyn Martell leaned against a column, arms loosely folded, her attention fixed on Oberyn as if she were watching a blade being unsheathed. Tyrion sat lower as protocol demanded, and resented it even as he understood it. He was not here as a lord. He was here as evidence. Doran's gaze moved over them all, then settled on his brother. You killed Ser Gregor Clegane, he said quietly. You won the combat and the court freed Tyrion Lannister. And then, instead of taking your victory and leaving, you stole the freed man from the Red Keep in the night. Oberyn's smile was sharp. I did not steal him, he replied. The court freed him. I merely ensured the lions did not decide to devour their prey in private. Doran's expression did not change. You ensured, he repeated softly, that the Lannisters now have a reason to call Dorne treasonous. Arianne's mouth curved with something like satisfaction. They have called us worse, she said. Doran's gaze flicked to her, gentle but firm. And we have survived because we did not give them excuses. Oberyn's eyes gleamed. Excuses, he said. Brother, they murdered Elia. What excuse did we need then? We swallowed it. We swallowed it for peace. We swallowed it until the taste poisoned everything. Ellaria's hands tightened. Tyrion saw the tension in her throat as if she wanted to speak and dared not. Doran breathed out slowly. Elia's death poisoned us, he agreed. It poisoned me, but poison can be endured. War cannot always be endured. Oberyn leaned forward. War has been endured by the Riverlands, by the North, by the Stormlands, he said. War is already here. We have merely pretended we are untouched. Doran's eyes sharpened. And you would drag Dorne into it now with no preparation, no allies, no. With truth, Oberyn cut in, and his voice was quieter now, more dangerous. Gregor confessed. He spoke of Elia and her children. He named the old lion. The realm heard it. You heard it, whether from my mouth or from ravens that will come like flies to blood." Doran's gaze shifted to Tyrion then. "Tell me," he said, "what did you hear? What did you see?" Tyrion felt every eye on him, even Ariohoda's. He chose his words carefully, as he always had, only now the wrong word could start a war. "I saw Ser Gregor Clegane confess," Tyrion said. "He said he killed Princess Elia Martell. He said he killed her children. And when Oberyn Martell asked who commanded," Tyrion paused, feeling the weight of the name. "He said, Lannister, the old lion." Arion's eyes flared. Ellaria's breath hitched. Oberyn's face did not change. Doran's expression remained calm, but Tyrion saw something shift behind his eyes, the tiniest tightening, like a door closing. "And you believe he spoke truth?"
Tyrion met Doran's gaze.
"Ser Gregor Clegane was a brute," he said. "But he was not a poet. He did not craft lies for drama. He said what he said because he was dying, and because the prince's spear left him no room to hide behind silence." Doran was quiet for a long moment. The water's trickle seemed suddenly loud. "And now," Doran said softly, "you have brought me this confession like a torch." Oberyn's voice was gentle, almost pleading. "Like a sun," he corrected. "Like the thing that should have risen years ago." Doran's gaze returned to his brother, and Tyrion felt the grief in it like heat under stone. "Oberyn," Doran said, "I have waited because I have had to. I have waited because a careless step would have crushed us. I have waited because I have a daughter, and a people, and a land that would burn if I let my anger steer." Oberyn's smile faded. "And while you waited," he said, "the lions grew fat." Arion pushed off the column, her voice low. "What does father mean to do?" she asked. "When the raven comes." Doran's gaze drifted toward the open archway where sun poured in. "When the raven comes," he said, "we will read it, and we will decide whether we answer with words or with spears." Oberyn's hand rested on his spear where it leaned against his chair, and the gesture looked like a promise. Tyrion sat in the cool hall of Sunspear and felt the world balancing on the edge of Doran Martell's patience. Later, when the hall had emptied and the servants had cleared wine cups untouched, Doran Martell asked for Tyrion alone. Alone in the way princes meant it, with guards at the edges and family close enough to hear if they wished. They walked slowly through a garden court where orange blossoms perfumed the air and water ran through narrow channels carved into stone. The shade was deeper here, the heat gentled by walls and leaves. Tyrion found his mind sharpening in the coolness, as if the sun's glare had been a distraction. Doran settled into a chair beneath a flowering trellis, his hands resting carefully, his breath controlled. Ariohoda stood in the shade with his long axe, silent. Oberyn lingered a few steps away, too restless to sit, pacing like a caged leopard. Arion watched from near a water channel, her expression unreadable. Doran's voice was soft. "You understand what you are," he said to Tyrion. Tyrion's mouth twisted. "A hostage," he replied. Doran's gaze held him. "A spark," he corrected. "The lions will chase you, and in chasing you, they may reveal their throats." Oberyn's smile flashed briefly. "Now you speak like me." Doran ignored him gently. "If I keep you," Doran said, "I invite war. If I return you," he continued, "I hand the lions their prey and admit fear. Either choice has cost." Tyrion nodded. "That is why you brought me here," he said. "To decide which cost is survivable." Doran's eyes narrowed slightly. "And you, Tyrion Lannister," he asked, "what do you advise? You know the lions. You have lived among them. You have served them. You have suffered them." Tyrion felt Oberyn's gaze on him like a weight. He took a breath and let the parts of himself that had survived courts and councils rise. His jokes would not save him here, only truth and strategy. "Tywin Lannister will not declare open war on Dorne immediately," Tyrion said. "Not if he can avoid it. He will threaten, he will posture, he will demand. But he is fighting too many fires. The North remains in rebellion. The Riverlands are in ruin. King Tommen Baratheon sits a throne too large for him, and the court is held together by the Tyrells' patience. Arianne's eyes sharpened. So you would use the Tyrells? Tyrion nodded slightly. Tywin needs them, he said. He cannot afford to look weak, and he cannot afford to look reckless. If the Tyrells begin to doubt him, he loses the rope that keeps King's Landing from falling. Doran's expression remained calm. And how do we make them doubt? Tyrion let out a breath. You already have begun, he said, and his voice tasted bitter. Gregor's confession will spread. The Tyrells are proud. They do not like to be allied to men whispered about in septs. And King's Landing loves a scandal. It will turn Tywin's victory into a stain. Oberyn's voice cut in, impatient. A stain is not enough. No, Tyrion agreed quietly. A stain washes. You need a tear in the cloth. Doran leaned forward slightly. Speak. Ryan's fingers flexed, and he found himself thinking like a hand again, like the man he had been before chains. Choke the city, he said. Not with armies, with hunger, with fear of hunger. The Reach feeds King's Landing, but the roads are long and vulnerable. The Boneway and the Prince's Pass are knives at the belly of any supply that must pass near Dorne. If Dornish riders begin to strike convoys, quietly, cleanly, King's Landing will feel it before it can answer. Arianne's mouth curved faintly, approving, and Tyrion continued, send ravens not only to Tywin but to the Tyrells. Offer them what they want. Stability. Let them believe Dorne's anger is focused on Tywin, not on the crown. Make them think they can trade one lion for another arrangement. Oberyn's eyes gleamed. You would have us bargain with roses. Tyrion met his gaze. I would have you win, he said. War is not only spears. It is allies and lies and doors opened quietly. Doran sat back, and the water's murmur filled the space for a heartbeat. And what of you? Doran asked. If you speak against your father, you become an enemy to your house. You become something with no home. Tyrion felt the old wound ache. I have never truly had a home, he admitted. I had rooms in a castle where my sister wished me dead, and my father wished I had never been born. Oberyn's voice was low. And yet you still fear becoming a traitor. Tyrion's laugh was small. A man can resent his chains and still flinch when they are removed, he said. Doran's gaze softened by a fraction. Then consider carefully, he said, because if we step onto this road, there will be no turning back. Not for you. Not for Dorne. Tyrion looked at the orange blossoms, at the water running like quiet time, and he thought of King's Landing's bells. He thought of Tywin's calm face. He thought of Cersei's hatred. I have already stepped, he said softly. I stepped the moment I boarded that ship. Oberyn stopped pacing, stilling like a blade held ready. Doran watched Tyrion for a long moment, then nodded once, slowly, as if sealing something within himself. Then, Doran said, we will see what the lions do when the desert begins to move. The raven reached King's Landing before the city finished chewing the story. Tywin Lannister read the message in silence, his fingers holding the parchment steady. The council chamber smelled of ink and old wood. A fire burned, but it did not soften the room. It only sharpened shadows. Kevan Lannister sat across from him, his mouth set grimly. Grand Maester Pycelle hovered like a nervous bird, hands trembling. Cersei stood behind Tywin's chair, close enough that her fingers dug into the carved lion as if she wanted to tear it apart. Jaime lingered near the wall, one hand resting on the pommel of his sword, his face tight with restraint. Tywin rolled the parchment slowly, then set it down. Tyrion is gone, he said. Cersei's laugh was a harsh sound. Gone, she spat. Stolen, ducted, humiliated. Kevin's eyes narrowed. The Martell ship sailed at dawn, he said. Our men at the river found 2 gold cloaks dead near the postern gate. Pycelle wrung his hands. Terrible, he murmured. Terrible. Such lawlessness. Tywin's gaze flicked to him, and Pycelle fell silent at once. Cersei leaned forward, voice shaking with fury. "We should declare it treason," she said. "We should send the fleet. We should take their sand castle and—" "We will do nothing rash," Tywin interrupted, and the calmness in his voice made her rage look childish. Cersei's eyes flared. "Nothing?" she demanded. "They murdered our champion, father. They dragged your son from your keep. They made the court whisper your name like a curse." Tywin's gaze held hers. "The court will whisper whatever keeps them alive," he said. "The Tyrells will pretend concern. The faith will pretend righteousness. And the small folk will pretend they understand justice." Kevin spoke carefully. "If we do nothing," he said, "Dorne may grow bold." Tywin's mouth tightened slightly. "Dorne has always been bold," he replied. "Boldness is their pride. It is also their weakness." Jaime's voice was low. "And Tyrion?" he asked, and there was something raw beneath the word. Tywin's gaze slid to him. "Tyrion has chosen his fate," he said. "If he speaks against us, he will be treated as any enemy." Jaime's jaw clenched. "He is your son." Tywin's eyes were cold. "He is a Lannister," he corrected, "and he will obey or he will be removed." Cersei's lips curled. "He will speak," she whispered. "He always wants to be clever. He always wants to make himself important." Tywin's fingers tapped once on the table. "Then we will ensure his cleverness becomes his grave." Kevin leaned forward. "What do you intend?" he asked. Tywin's gaze drifted to the window where the city lay beyond, restless and noisy. "We will write to Prince Doran Martell," he said. "We will demand Tyrion's return. We will speak of law and courtesy. We will offer peace in exchange." Cersei's mouth twisted. "Peace." Tywin's gaze sharpened. "And while we offer peace," he continued, "we prepare leverage. We remind Dorne they have us. Nothing we can harm." Pycelle's eyes widened. "The princess," he murmured. "Myrcella Baratheon." Cersei's face lit with cruel satisfaction. "Yes," she said. "Myrcella." Jaime's head snapped up. "No." Cersei turned on him. "She is my daughter," she hissed. "And she is in Dorne. They can use her. We should use her first." Tywin's gaze did not waver. "Myrcella is a piece," he said. "Pieces are moved." Jaime took a step forward, his voice tight. "She is a child." Tywin's eyes were winter. "So was Elias," he said softly, and the words hung like smoke. For a heartbeat the room went still. Jaime's face went pale. Cersei's lips parted, and even she seemed to flinch, though anger quickly covered it. Tywin leaned forward slightly, the old lion settling into his hunt. "Send ravens," he said, "to Dorne, to High Garden, to the Eyrie if you must. We will control the story. We will call Tyrion a traitor kidnapped by a viper. We will paint Dorne as reckless. We will force the Tyrells to stand with us, or to reveal themselves." Kevin nodded slowly. "And if Doran refuses?" Tywin's mouth curved faintly, not a smile but a certainty. "Then," he said, "we remind him what it costs to refuse." Cersei's eyes gleamed. Jaime looked away, his hand tightening on his sword as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. Outside, King's Landing roared. Inside, Tywin Lannister began to build a cage large enough to hold a desert. Cersei did not go to the Great September for comfort. Comfort was a lie other people sold to the weak. She went because the city was shifting beneath her feet, and she needed something that could be used to hold it down. Night wrapped the sept in silence, broken only by candle crackle and the soft scrape of sandals. The air smelled of incense and cold stone. Septas moved like pale ghosts, their faces lowered. Cersei walked among them with a veil over her hair, and the veil felt like an insult even as it protected her from watching eyes. The High Sparrow waited in shadow, hands folded, his robe plain enough to offend her. He looked at her as if she were a sickness he had diagnosed long ago and found unsurprising. "Your Grace," he said softly. Cersei inclined her head, the motion stiff. "Holy man," she replied. His eyes flicked to the guards at the sept's edge, then back to her. The city whispers, he said. It whispers of justice. It whispers of sin. Cersei's fingers clenched around the golden lion pendant hidden beneath her cloak. The metal dug into her palm. The city whispers because it is bored, she said. The city whispers because it is hungry. The High Sparrow corrected gently. Hungry for bread. Hungry for fairness. Hungry for meaning. Cersei felt heat rise behind her eyes. Anger, fear, humiliation. She forced it down. I have come, she said, to speak of peace. The High Sparrow's mouth curved faintly, not in amusement but in pity. Peace, he repeated, a lovely word, often spoken by those who have never provided it. Cersei's jaw tightened. There is unrest, she said. Rumors, lies. A foreign prince killed the crown's champion and then abducted a nobleman from the Red Keep. This cannot be allowed to stand. The High Sparrow's gaze stayed calm. A prince killed a man in lawful combat, he said, and the accused was freed by the gods' judgment. If you call that unlawful, you call the gods unlawful. Cersei's lips pressed together. The confession, she said sharply. That beast's words. He spoke nonsense to please his killer. The city will be misled. The High Sparrow's eyes did not blink. The city believes what matches what it already knows, he said softly. Cersei's stomach tightened. And what does it already know? She demanded. That the high feast while the low starve, he said. That men die and lords shrug. That children suffer and queens wear gold. That the powerful sin and call it necessity. For a moment Cersei felt as if the sept's walls had leaned closer. She saw with sudden clarity how dangerous this man was. He did not fear her. He did not want her. He did not need her. He had something she could not buy, the city's hunger. Ser Lancelot Lannister lingered near a column, face pale, eyes lowered. Cersei saw him and felt a familiar disgust twist within her. Weakness was always so ugly when it wore her name. She forced her voice into softness. The faith has influence, she said. You can help calm the city. You can remind them of obedience. The High Sparrow's gaze remained steady. Obedience, he said, is not the faith's gift to you. It is your gift to the Seven. Cersei's fingers tightened around her pendant until it hurt. She breathed slowly, tasting incense and contempt. What do you want? She asked at last, the words bitter. The High Sparrow stepped closer, and in candlelight his face was lined not with greed but with certainty. I want justice, he said. True justice. Not the kind declared in courtyards while the guilty sit safe on thrones. Cersei's mouth twisted. And if I refuse? The High Sparrow's voice stayed gentle. Then the city will continue to whisper, he said. And whispers become shouts, and shouts become storms. Cersei's pulse hammered. She felt suddenly the fragility of her crown, how it rested not on her head, but on the city's willingness to believe in it. She forced herself to smile, thin and controlled. Perhaps, she said, we can help one another. The High Sparrow looked at her and did not smile back. Perhaps, he agreed, and the words sounded like a warning. As Cersei left the sept, her veil damp with night air, she realized she had not come to use the faith. She had come because the faith was already beginning to use her. The raven came in the afternoon, its wings dusty, its eyes sharp. It was brought into Doran Martell's council chamber as if it were a weapon, and in truth it was. Words could cut more deeply than spears when they were written by men who knew where to strike. Doran sat at the head of the table, his hands swollen, his face calm. The scroll lay before him, sealed with the lion. Arianne stood at his shoulder, her eyes bright with anger. Areo Hoda waited behind them, long axe unmoving. Oberyn did not sit. He stood over the table with his spear planted against the stone like a claim. Ellaria watched him with tight fear, as if she could already see blood spilling from his choices. In the chamber's shadows, the sand snakes had gathered. Obara Sand with her hard eyes and soldier stance. Nymeria Sand with her cool gaze and elegant cruelty. Tyene Sand with her soft smile that looked too innocent to be trusted. They were not invited. They simply came, drawn by the scent of conflict. Doran broke the seal and unrolled the parchment slowly. His eyes moved over the words without changing. When he finished, he set it down as carefully as if it were hot. "They demand the return of Tyrion Lannister," Doran said softly. Oberyn Sand snorted. "Let them demand," she said. "We can send them back his head." "Quiet," Nymeria Sand murmured, not looking at Oberyn. "If you send a head, choose whose." Tyene Sand's smile stayed sweet. "A lion's head would be prettier." Ellaria's voice cut through, sharp. "Enough," she said. "This is not a tavern game." Oberyn's eyes gleamed. "It is not a game," he agreed. "It is an invitation." Doran's gaze lifted to him. "It is a threat," Doran corrected. Oberyn's smile was thin. "Threats are invitations to fight," he replied. Arianne leaned forward, reading the scroll where it lay. "They call him kidnapped," she said, voice tight. "They call you reckless. They call Father weak if he shelters him." Doran's face remained calm. "Of course they do," he said. "They will not admit he left their city freely. They will not admit their justice failed." Oberyn's spear but tapped stone once, a soft sound that made the room feel smaller. "They also speak of Myrcella Baratheon," he said, and his voice went colder. Doran's eyes narrowed slightly. "Yes," he said. "They remind us she is here." Arianne's mouth tightened. "They threaten a child," she said. Doran's voice stayed mild. "They remind us of leverage," he said, and there was no surprise in him. "They are lions. Lions use what is near." Oberyn Sand's hand went to the hilt of her weapon. "Let me ride," she said. "Let me bring back proof that deserts have teeth." Doran's gaze flicked to her, calm and weary. "You would bring back blood," he said. "Blood always demands more blood." Oberyn leaned closer to the table, his eyes fixed on Doran. "And what does patience demand?" he asked. "More waiting, more swallowing." "How many years have we swallowed, brother? How many times have we told you? Ourselves we are wise because we do not strike." Doran's voice was soft, but it carried weight. "I have kept Dorne alive," he said. "I have kept our children from dying for pride." Oberyn's face tightened. "Elia died anyway," he said, and the words were raw now, stripped of charm. Silence fell. Even the sand snakes stilled, their eyes sharp. Doran closed his eyes for a moment, as if pain had moved through him like a slow knife. When he opened them, his gaze was steady. "What do you propose?" Doran asked. Oberyn's answer came without hesitation. "We do not return Tyrion," he said. "We do not apologize. We do not bend. We answer with action. We begin to make the lions bleed in ways their gold cannot stop." Arianne's eyes flared. "War," she breathed. Oberyn's smile returned. "Fierce." "War," he agreed. Doran's gaze held him and Tyrion, standing near the chamber's edge, silent, felt the moment sharpening. This was the crack in the dam. Once opened, it could not be closed with words. "And if war comes," Doran said quietly, "will you carry its weight when it crushes what you love?" Oberyn's eyes did not waver. "I will carry it," he said. "Better to carry a war we choose than a humiliation we endure." Ellaria's hands clenched, her face pale. She looked at Doran as if pleading with him to hold the world together. Doran looked back at her and at his brother and at his daughter and at the restless blades of the sand snakes, and Tyrion saw, in that calm face, the loneliness of a man asked to decide how many will die. Doran's voice was almost a whisper. "Then we must decide," he said, "whether the sun rises or burns." The water gardens were a lie the world told itself, that beauty could make men forget cruelty. Sunlight filtered through leaves, turning fountains into jeweled curtains. Children laughed somewhere among the paths, their voices bright and careless. Flowers spilled color against white stone. The air smelled of water and blossoms and fruit. Tyrion walked through it feeling like a stain. Nymeria Sand had led him there with quiet purpose, her expression unreadable. She said little. She did not need to. The presence of Princess Myrcella Baratheon in Dorne was a fact that hung over every decision like a blade suspended by a thread. Tyrion spotted her near a pool where the water was so clear it seemed unreal. Myrcella sat with her skirts gathered, feet tucked beneath her, her hair golden in sunlight. Doran Martell sat beside her, his hand resting lightly over hers, his posture gentle in a way King's Landing had never taught. Myrcella looked up and saw Tyrion, and for a heartbeat her face lit with recognition. Then confusion crossed it, then something like caution learned too early. "Uncle," she said softly. The word struck Tyrion harder than any fist. He forced a smile and bowed slightly. "Princess," he replied, and his voice felt rough in this place of softness. Doran rose, polite. "Lord Tyrion," he said, "we were told you were dead. Rumors of my death are often optimistic," Tyrion murmured, and the old jest tasted bitter. Myrcella stood as well, her hands clasped. She was older than the last time Tyrion had truly looked at her. Still a child, but with the beginning of awareness in her eyes. The kind of awareness that came when adults spoke too softly around you. "Are you in trouble?" she asked. Tyrion stared at her, and for a moment he could not find words that would not wound. "I am," he admitted, "but trouble follows our family like a shadow." Myrcella's gaze lowered. "Mother will be angry," she whispered. Tyrion's mouth tightened. Angry was too small a word for what Cersei would become if she believed Myrcella was threatened. Cersei would turn fear into cruelty as naturally as breathing. Nymeria Sand watched from a distance, arms folded, her eyes cool. Tyrion felt her presence like a judgment. Dorne did not forget children used as pieces. Dorne had buried Elias. Doran's hand tightened gently around Myrcella's. "You are safe here," he said, voice firm. Myrcella looked at Tyrion again. "Did you kill father?" she asked suddenly, and the innocence of the question made it brutal. Tyrion's throat closed. "No," he said quietly. "I did not." Myrcella's eyes searched his face. She had been raised among lies. She was learning to feel for truth the way a blind person learned to feel walls. "Then why did they hate you?" she asked. Tyrion swallowed. "Because sometimes," he said carefully, "people hate what makes them ashamed." Myrcella's brow furrowed. "Mother is never ashamed," she said, as if stating a fact. Tyrion almost low. "Ged," and the sound almost became a sigh. "No," he agreed softly. "She is not." He crouched slightly, lowering himself to Myrcella's height. The fountain song filled the space between them. "Listen to me," he said, voice low. "Whatever happens, you must remember that you are not your mother. You are your own person." Myrcella's eyes widened. "Uncle," Doran watched, uncertain. Nymeria's gaze sharpened, as if she sensed something dangerous in kindness. Tyrion felt the weight of what he wanted to say and what he could not. He could not tell Myrcella she might become a hostage, a bargaining chip. He could not tell her the lions might come roaring. He could not tell her Dorne might answer with spears. So he did the only thing he could do. He touched her hand lightly, a brief warmth. "Be brave," he said. Myrcella's fingers squeezed his, small and trusting. "I am not afraid," she lied, and Tyrion saw the fear behind her eyes anyway. As he stood, he looked around the water gardens, the blossoms, the laughter, the fountains, and he felt a sharp grief for all the children dragged into wars they did not choose. He thought of Rhaenys and Aegon, Elia's little ones, and the thought made his stomach twist. When Nymeria Sand approached him afterward, her smile was faint. "You have a soft spot," she said. "It will be used against you." Tyrion met her gaze. "Everything in me has been used against me," he replied. "At least let it be something human." Nymeria's eyes lingered on him, then flicked back toward Myrcella and Doran. "In Dorne," she murmured, "we remember what happens when children become trophies." Tyrion watched the girl by the pool and felt the coming war like thunder under clear skies. That night, the palace felt like a living thing holding its breath. Torches burned along courtyards, their light trembling on white stone. The sea murmured beyond the walls, steady as time. Guards' footsteps echoed in measured patterns. Somewhere a musician played a soft string tune that sounded almost like mourning. Oberyn stood on a balcony overlooking the torchlit courtyard below, his hands resting on the stone. His spear leaned against the wall beside him, close enough to touch without looking. The wind lifted his hair slightly, cooled his face, but it did not cool the fire in his eyes. Ellaria came to him quietly, her steps soft. She did not speak at first. She simply stood beside him, close enough that her shoulder brushed his arm. Her presence was warm, real, a small mercy. "They will not let this go," she said at last, her voice low. Oberyn did not turn. "No," he replied, "they cannot." Ellaria's hands clasped together so tightly her knuckles whitened. "And you," she whispered, "cannot either." Oberyn's mouth curved faintly. "No," he said again, and the repetition was a confession. Ellaria looked out over the courtyard, her eyes shining in torchlight. "I loved Elia too," she said. "Not as you did, perhaps. Not as blood does. But I loved her, and I would see justice. I would." Oberyn finally turned to her, and in his gaze there was a fierce tenderness. "Then why do you look at me as if you are already mourning?" Ellaria's breath hitched. "Because I know you," she said, and the words were both love and accusation. "Because when you choose a road, you do not walk it. You run. You run until you fall or the world breaks." Oberyn's jaw tightened. "The world broke when they killed her," he said softly. "I am only refusing to pretend it did not." Ellaria's voice sharpened. "And what of your daughters?" she demanded. "What of the children in the water gardens? What of Dorne itself? Will your vengeance keep them safe, or will it drag them into fire?" Oberyn's eyes flared. "Do you think I do not see them?" He snapped, then caught himself, the anger fading into pain. "Do you think I do not hear Elia's children when I close my eyes?" Ellaria's tears gathered, not falling. "Then stay," she whispered. "Stay with me. Stay with them. Let Doran do what he does. Let him wait if he must." Oberyn laughed softly, bitter. "And when will the waiting end?" he asked. "When Tywin dies of old age in his bed. When Cersei crowns another child and calls it peace. When our grief becomes an old story told to frighten girls." Ellaria's hands rose to his face, cupping his cheeks. Her touch was firm, as if she could hold him in place by will alone. "You cannot bring her back," she whispered. Oberyn's eyes closed for a heartbeat under her hands. "No," he said, "but I can make them remember what they did." Ellaria's voice cracked. "Remembering is not worth your life." Oberyn opened his eyes and looked at her, and in that look Ellaria saw the truth. He had already paid his life years ago when Elia died. He was only deciding how the final coin would be spent. "I do not seek death," he said quietly. "I seek a world where men like Tywin Lannister cannot kill children and call it politics." Ellaria's hands trembled against his face. "And if you make war," she said, "you may become the thing you hate." Oberyn's mouth tightened. "Perhaps," he admitted. "That is the cost of fighting monsters." Ellaria's tears finally fell. She pressed her forehead to his. "Promise me," she whispered. "Promise me you will not throw yourself away." Oberyn's arms wrapped around her, pulling her close. For a moment he held her as if she were the only steady thing in a world shifting underfoot. Then he murmured against her hair, voice rough, "I promise I will not be careless." Ellaria pulled back, searching his face. "Careless?" she repeated, and there was grief in the word. She knew him too well to believe that caution could tame his fire. Below, a guard's footsteps paused, then continued. The palace kept breathing. The sea kept murmuring. Oberyn's hand slid to the spear leaning against the stone. He did not lift it. He simply touched it, fingertips resting on wood and dried blood. "They will come for Tyrion," he said softly. Ellaria's eyes closed. Yes, and if they come, Oberyn continued, we will not hide, not anymore. Ellaria opened her eyes and looked out at the torchlit courtyard, and in her face Tyrion would have seen, if he had been there, the hard acceptance of a woman who loved a man who could not be held. Then, she whispered, let the sun burn them. By morning the decision had become public, because secrets could not survive a palace full of knives and grief. The courtyard filled with people. Guards, servants, nobles, men from the Shadow City with sun-browned faces and wary eyes. The Martell banners snapped overhead, red and gold bright enough to hurt. Prince Doran Martell sat in his litter beneath a canopy, his face composed, his hands resting carefully. He looked like a man carved from stone and forced to watch a fire he had not lit. Arianne stood beside him, chin lifted, her gaze moving over the crowd the way a ruler measured loyalty. Hoda and a ring of Dornish spearmen formed a wall around the dais. Their shields and spear points caught sunlight, making a glittering cage of protection and warning. Oberyn Martell stepped forward into the center of the courtyard as if it were a dueling ring. He wore no helm, no heavy armor, only his bright cloak and his spear. The dried blood on the shaft was visible, dark against wood. It was not washed. It was shown. Tyrion stood beside him, holding a parchment scroll in both hands. The words on it felt heavier than iron. He could feel eyes on him from every side. Curiosity, suspicion, hatred. He could almost hear King's Landing whispering through the mouths of Dornishmen who had never seen a Lannister so close. Oberyn lifted his spear, and the courtyard quieted like a blade pressed to a throat. People of Dorne, he said, his voice carrying without strain. Men and women of Sunspear, you have heard what happened in King's Landing. A murmur rippled, then stilled. Faces tightened, hands clenched. They brought us to their courtyard to watch a dwarf be killed. Oberyn continued, and his gaze swept over them. They thought it would be entertainment. They thought Dorne would sit politely and accept whatever crumbs of justice they dropped. His voice hardened. Instead, we made them listen. A low growl rose from the crowd, like a storm beginning. Oberyn held his spear steady. Ser Gregor Clegane confessed, he said, and the courtyard seemed to lean in. He confessed to murdering Princess Ellaria Martell. He confessed to murdering her children. A sharp sound, someone choking back a sob. Curse muttered. A hand slammed against a shield. Oberyn's eyes flared. And when he was asked who commanded, he said, he named the Old Lion. The courtyard erupted, not in chaos but in fury. Shouts, curses. The sound of grief turned sharp. Arianne's eyes burned. Tywin's sweet smile vanished into something hungry. Obara's hand went to her weapon. Doran's face did not change. If there was pain in him, he hid it behind a prince's calm. Oberyn raised his spear again, and the crowd quieted slowly, like an animal obeying the hand it trusted most. Tywin Lannister believes he can buy the world's silence, Oberyn said. He believes gold is thicker than blood. He believes Dorne will swallow its grief forever. He turned slightly, gesturing toward Tyrion. This man is House Lannister, Oberyn said. This man was their hand. This man knows their truths. Tyrion's throat tightened. He stepped forward a fraction, and the movement felt like stepping into a noose. He unrolled the parchment slowly, hands steady through sheer will. His voice carried, rough but clear. I, Tyrion of House Lannister, he began, and the words tasted like ash. Swear before the gods and men that Ser Gregor Clegane confessed in the Red Keep Yard. He confessed to the murders of Princess Ellaria Martell and her children. He named the Old Lion as the one who commanded. A wave of sound rose again. Anger, vindication, grief. Tyrion swallowed and continued, because stopping would be death of another kind. I believe, he said, and felt the world sharpen, that my father, Tywin Lannister, used men like Ser Gregor Clegane as weapons. He made monsters useful and called it necessity. And I will not be silent for him any longer. For a heartbeat, Silence fell so deep Tyrion heard the fountains in distant gardens, heard the rustle of banners, heard his own breath. Then Oberyn's voice broke it, fierce and bright. "Dorne has been patient," he declared. "Dorne has been polite. Dorne has swallowed its grief until it became poison." He lifted his spear high, sunlight blazing along its length. "No more," he said. The crowd answered with a roar that shook the courtyard stones. Doran Martell's gaze fixed on his brother. Steady, heavy, pained, and Tyrion saw in it a final surrender. Not to Oberyn's fire, but to the truth that the world had changed and would not be unmade. Oberyn's voice rang out, clear as steel. "From this day," he declared, "until the lions answer with justice, or with their own blood, Dorne will not bow. Dorne will not forget. And if war comes to our sand, then we will meet it with sun and spear." The banners snapped overhead. The crowd roared again, louder, and in that sound Tyrion felt the realm's balance tilt. Somewhere far away, in a city of stone and smoke, lions would bare their teeth. Here, under the sun, the spear had finally risen.